Guys, welcome to the Dave Darren Show. We've got Shell Ward here. How's it going, Shell? Julie's been a regular lately. Tremendous. She's from Phoenix, Arizona. Check her out. Check out her Facebook post. She's very creative, extremely creative. Wendy, how's it going? Wendy's got this thing where she does investigations of haunted places, whether they be hotels, anything at all. And I've got to hook up with her. I got to get our dog healthy, and I got to start getting out on the road again. She's not doing well today, so I don't know what's going on with this. Robert, brand new guy. Evening, Dave. Good evening to you, Robert. Brand new guy. I've never seen you before, or maybe I've missed you somehow. Let's see who else we got. Just a quick couple hellos to Mike, Peter, and Ron. So let me also say hello to some of the new Facebook groups we've got going. Then I'm going to introduce you guys again to Frank. You've met Frank before. He's a tremendous guy because he was part of the Apollo space missions. Remember them? Everyone does remember Apollo, whether it was the god Apollo. And we named the space mission after the god Apollo, which was kind of cool. He was actually the guy that was developing, he was the electronics guy on the Lunar Module. I got to get this guy to help me out with my BMW. It's giving me some trouble. I need a NASA guy to work on my BMW. That's how complicated it is. So let's say hello to some of the newer groups here. We got everything extraterrestrial is now part of the Dave Darren Show. Alien UFO sightings. Let's see, who else? A bunch of them. A bunch of them I posted here. I got some people that are pending. So, who else? Could I post to Midnight in the Desert? I did. I took the risk of doing that. UFO and extraterrestrial disclosure, UFO sightings footage, ufology world research group, real UFO sightings and strange phenomena, UFO petroglyphs, the sky. Man, that's a hard thing to say. Anomalies and entities. Aliens, alien abductions, UFOs, a bunch of them. Needless to say, I'm trying to get a bunch of groups enjoying this show so we can enjoy each other. This is like in Star Trek. This is the collective. This is like the Borg collective. We're all trying to have a topic in common so we can conquer the world, right? All right, let's talk. Let's bring Frank in. I'm going to bring Frank in right now. By the way, before I do, 609-467-4000. If you want to call and talk to me, talk to Frank, if there's callers to call in and you want to talk to that caller, 609-467-4000, I will conference call you guys all in. Let's bring on Frank. Frank, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going good, Dave. Going good, Dave.
Good.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here listening to all the newcomers. That's great stuff, man.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm ready to roll whenever you are.
I'm ready to roll right now, right this second, Frank. So Frank, give me a little bit of history. We've met you before, so we're going to get some new topics today. We're not going to talk about all the engineering of the Apollo stuff, but give me a little bit about history about Frank.
Okay, very good. Yeah, well, originally I'm from New York, worked on the Lunar Module project at Grumman Aircraft, and I've been an electronic technician, engineer for many years, mechanical engineer as well. And I'm retired, living down here in Florida. Actually, not too far from where I can watch the launches when they do take off. I'm actually near another town called Casadega, which some people may know or they may want to Google. But this town is probably about an hour away from me. And the entire town is psychics and mediums. That's all that lives in this town. And it's a pretty interesting place if anybody's out and about on a holiday or whatever and would like to visit there, or just Google it and see what it's all about. I'm not getting compensated for this plug, but anyway, this is the right place for that format. So I thought I'd let you know it all about that. Anyway, I've got some other stuff I would like to discuss, oddball stuff. and certainly would appreciate any input on any of these topics. And if I can begin, I will. How's that?
Yeah, well, let me just say one thing. It's interesting because you're close to a place that is full of psychics and mediums. I'm born in Philadelphia and I live part-time in New York, which is known for psychos and people with medium tempers. And they explode. So a little bit of commonality, a little bit of similar stuff there. So I have a topic I want to bring up with you. But if you want to start off, Frank, go ahead, because I'm just the host. I don't mind giving a mic to someone else. What topic do you want to bring up? And then I'll bring up my topic.
Okay. Well, here's something that I may have mentioned to you. I think I might have. But it's kind of a strange thing that has occurred about a month ago. I live out in the middle of nowhere. And this town was came into being in the 1850s that I'm in. And it's got 80 resident houses in the town. Anyway, that's the history of that. I left my house one evening to walk 2 blocks down to a local convenience store. There's only 2 stores in this town. And upon going out the front door, I saw people wandering around. And I walked up to the corner to make my left turn to go towards the store, which is a couple blocks away. And there was a parade coming towards me. Now it's dark now, and it looked like a bunch of high school kids with musical instruments, people milling around on both sides of the road watching the parade. Did not hear any sound coming from them, but they were very tangible. I could see features and them playing, their instruments. And as they came towards me, they faded and went through me, and I turned around. And they, rematerialized and proceeded onward. They came actually, I'm on the St. Johns River. They came from the direction of the St. Johns River where there's a park. And there's an old schoolhouse, which is now the town hall, that was built in 1910 or something like that. And as I turned around and watched the parade go away, they rematerialized and continued on. And a few blocks down, there's another park. Where they turned around and rested before they came back, and it was like I was very, it wasn't like a Woodstock flashback or anything. I was really watching these people do this, and I was not afraid. I was just watching, trying to take it all in, and I was wondering if that was a flashback or whether it was a time travel or whether their energy just reappeared because it was a special occasion or something. I'm not sure what that was all about. But anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there to see what people thought about that. Because when I came back to my house, there were still people milling around on the side of the road. And they were dressed in turn of the century, long dresses and stuff, and formal attire, not like you would see today. So it was really a strange thing for me to see. And I mentioned it to a few people, and as you had said, when I had mentioned it to you, all you had to say was "wow."
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think
maybe we'll get some input on that topic.
Yeah.
Before I change topics, or if somebody wants to change it on their own. That's going to be up to you. Okay, back to you, Dave.
I've got some questions for you, Frank, based upon what you said. Because last time all I said was, wow. I guess I was dumbfounded. Sometimes I'm dumb, and sometimes I'm dumbfounded. And sometimes my wife finds me dumb. But let me ask you this question. Did these creatures, these beings that were walking towards you, and as they ran into you, they dissipated and then reappeared? Did they see you at all? Do you believe that they acknowledged that you were there, or were they just walking and then suddenly ran into you but were not aware of your being there? Were they aware of you at all, do you think?
No, there was no sign of them being aware at all. Like I said, they just continued to play their instruments, making no sound to me. But obviously they were involved in what they were doing in their parade routine. So that was kind of strange. There was no cognizant awareness on their part.
Yeah, now as the group was approaching you, if it was a single file group, then only one entity would have passed through you. But assuming it was multiple layers or multiple waves, multiple beings went through you, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. They were, it was like a regular parade. There were 4 or 6 people across in their formation as
Right.
they came through me. They just faded off and reappeared as they passed me. It was really strange.
Yeah, I'm curious about this. As these beings passed through you, wave after wave, and so there'd be one being that would pass through you, he would complete passing through you, the next would pass through you. Did you feel any emotional being? Did you feel an emotional connection to any of these beings, or did the emotional connection, if you had one, did it vary as each being passed through you? Because each one of them would have lived a different life. Did you feel anything at all? Any energy, any fluctuation, any emotional impact, or anything?
No, actually not. Actually, it was
Huh.
like if they had any energy project, they seemed to have lost it as they passed through me because there was no feeling on their part or my part as they did. It was like I wasn't there to them.
Right. That's interesting, fascinating. Do you think it would? Do you have any idea, like when you talk to people, as you talk to me now about it, and I'm just one individual? Since you mentioned this, do you mention this to a lot of people, or do you not mention it because of just such a unusual phenomena? Have you opened it up to like 10, 15 people, or not at all that many?
Not that many people. Actually, I just mentioned it to my daughter this past week, who's probably listening now anyway, because she puts her 2 cents in here also sometimes. But it was not something that I don't see that many people where I'm at, to be honest with it. And it was just that's why I put it out here on the air, was to see what people would think about it.
Yeah, Sparky says possibly it's from another dimension. That's her opinion on this. She's giving her opinion. She's thinking they were from another dimension. So I guess she's believing that these people are potentially beings that are maybe still alive. Although we really haven't understood dimensions. Dimensions could still be dimensions of a different time period. So these people might have passed already, and they're just visiting our dimension as sort of not within our time frame. Maybe they're passed away or dead already. I'm not sure, but they would have been from a dimension that is parallel to ours, because you said that they were in costume of a longer time period. So they would be a dimension of people that either are in another dimension, functioning at a different time than ours, visiting our dimension. It's pretty complicated. This whole dimension thing is really complicated. Time travel is so complicated, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a question of, did I time travel back and see them, or did they time travel forward to see me? I don't know.
Right. Fascinating. And you said you couldn't hear anything, which is also interesting, because you could vividly see these beings. You could see them dissolve as they were approaching you. You felt nothing. And then they reanimated as they left. Now, when they reanimated as they left, there was no sound at all, right? You would have mentioned that, right?
No sound at all. But they were very vivid.
Yeah.
They had on their white uniforms that normally you would see them wear, in a band parade, with the brass buttons and the shiny instruments. They were as real as could be.
Wow, and I'm sure they acknowledged each other, right? Because they're all playing in the band, so they're not completely doing different things. So they all acknowledged each other, this group. They all were part of this.
Oh yeah. They were acknowledging each other, and actually they stopped along the way and took a break, set their instruments down, and then picked them back up and continued. It was like, and there was people milling around talking, that I couldn't hear, but keeping, having conversations and watching the parade, just like any other, group watching a parade. It was really very vivid.
Yeah, Shell Ward, who was my first opening guest when I did the pilot of this show, she says that she believes it could have been a portal that was opened or something like that. And Wendy, who is actually involved in hauntings and investigations of hauntings, she says it's a residential haunting for sure. That's what residential. She says it's a residual haunting for sure. What's residual haunting mean? I don't know what that means. Residual is reoccurring, or residual, which means still there?
Right. Kind of like there's still enough energy to keep coming back, I guess.
Yeah. I wonder if did you ever go back there and repeat the visit and see if you could see this a second time?
Well, I take that walk quite often, several times a week, and that was the only time I saw it. And it was like the time where it would be like the end of school, and maybe there would be a parade or a homecoming party or something. It was that time of the year where it would be a school activity.
Yeah, well, I guess the only thing to do to see if you could replicate that was to remember the exact time of year it was. And that's kind of tricky too, because obviously if there's parades like that, say it's a school parade or something like that, there may be a school parade, different times of the year, and you would not actually be able to sequence it or synchronize it based upon you trying to see it again. It might be a little bit tricky, right?
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, certainly if it ever happens again, I will be back on to tell you about it.
Yeah, I wonder if something like that is filmable. I mean, Wendy's here, and she says it could be very well a residual haunting for sure. I wonder if Wendy wants to chime in and say if anything like that is possible to capture on video. And obviously you didn't try that, Frank, obviously, correct?
Yeah, it may be. It may be.
Yeah.
I got somebody knocking on my door, believe it or not.
Oh, do you want to grab it?
Yeah, let me take a quick break.
Okay.
And pass it around, and I'll jump right back in. Okay.
Okay. I'll tell you what. While we're taking a break here, I do have a contributing artist who sent me a song here. When Frank comes back, he's got a knock on his door. Maybe it's the group wanting to play on the show. Who knows? It could be the group. Oh, Frank, are you back already?
Maybe.
Oh, maybe it is that group. Maybe they're knocking on your door and they want to play for the Dave Darren show. That'd be great. All right, do you have to answer the door? Because if you do, we'll take a break. If you don't, then we'll stay here and continue.
All right, let me go catch that. Let me go catch this and see what's going on.
Okay, in the meantime, we're going to play this song donated to the Dave Darren show by Michael Hamilton Berry. And it is called There Being... what, Frank, you back?
I'll be back shortly. Hang on.
Okay. And the name of the song is They're Beaming Him Up Again. Let's play that right now or while we're waiting for Frank to come back.
I'm aboard. Energize.
Or while we're waiting for Frank to come back.
I'm aboard. Energize.
Or while we're waiting for Frank to come back.
They're beaming him up again tonight. They're beaming him up again tonight. Nothing is wrong, but then again, nothing is right. They're beaming him up again tonight. He's seen the lights, he knows the signs. It's taken its toll upon his mind. Hour by hour, day by day, he can't escape those cuckoo rays. The voices are pounding in his head. At night they abducted high from his bed. Up in the clock tower, the silver men, they're messing with his mind again. You know the feeling when you wake, you feel like you're falling back down to earth. Well, this happens to me every night. I'm wondering just how much my life is worth. These voices keep pounding in my brain. I feel like I'm about to go insane. There's only one way they'll leave it alone. Get a machete, go to the old folks' home. It's a terrible task, but it must be done. before the rising of the sun. Only one way for the earth to be saved. The sacrifice must be made.
Okay, welcome back to the Dave Darren Show. We got Frank still on the call. I want to ask Frank a question because he expressed that unusual event where a bunch of individuals were playing instruments without any sound being heard. And let me ask Frank a question here. The question I have is, I had a question in my mind. All this complication of playing that video threw me off. Do you think there was any? Oh, I know what I want to do. I got a question here from Kurt. Kurt Roulette said power lines, and were there any power lines around the area that might have absorbed energy and brought their energy to you? What he says is, were there a lot of power lines around? They say that can cause residual hauntings. Anything like that around where you saw this take place, Frank?
It's very possible. I'm not ruling anything out at this point. Obviously it deserves further study. This is a very old area. It was an Indian, a native Indian area at one time before they were driven out. And there's a lot of stuff going on in this area. So anything is possible. There's an old graveyard nearby from the 1850s and stuff like that. And I might wander around there in a little while and check that out as well. But my mind is open to it, anything that anybody suggests. But I just thought I'd put it out there and see what kind of response I got. And obviously I'm getting some response, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of responses here. Here's another response. It says, energy from something of the past that happened at that exact day and time he saw, and it was lucky for you to have been there at the right time. So in other words, a lot of people are thinking this is a residual effect. Residual meaning that it's there at that moment and you were lucky enough to see it at that exact moment, at that exact day. Residual means, I'm assuming, that it would reoccur at the exact same time, at the exact same date, because it's a residual thing. So if you would happen to remember the exact day and the exact time, you may be able to replicate that from happening again, but maybe you don't remember the exact day nor the exact time. That's tricky to remember if you're not really consciously trying to write that down.
I think you're on the right track, though. I think that was my first inclination, was that I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And I do have it written down on a calendar, so I will check it.
Oh, okay.
And try to redo it to see if it happens again.
Yeah, another one here is, could you date them by their garments? You mentioned a longer time period. Now, if I saw someone dressed like Ben Franklin, I grew up in Philadelphia, I'd be able to say, well, there's 1776, but it'd be hard to date it if you don't know that exact garment of the exact time or decade. Can you accurately pinpoint it, or it's kind of tough?
Yeah, this is true. This is true. It was just kind of one of those weird things, and I got my Franklin, Philadelphia. Thinking people would think I was crazy, but this is the right group to put it out there to.
Yeah, actually, we have a caller. I think we have someone calling in. Is the caller there?
Hi, this is Wendy.
Hi, Wendy. Hey, how's it going? Wendy, welcome to the show. I've talked to you before. You've been someone that I want to hook up with, and you're here to talk to Frank. Wendy is the individual who does investigations of hauntings, and Frank's on, who's actually sort of had a residual haunting. So let's turn it over to Wendy. What do you want to say, Wendy, to our guest?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that it does sound like a residual haunting. Basically, it's something that happened in the past, and a lot of energy, something that was that could have been done just once a year or at a certain time or whatever. And there was so much energy and so much going on at that time that it stayed after it's I'm trying to explain how to say it the right way. It's basically it comes back at the same time,
Right.
a certain time, and and you happen to walk out at the perfect time, which is very cool because I've been investigating for years, and I haven't even experienced that yet.
Yeah, it was awesome because it was very real. It was like I wasn't afraid of it. I was trying to take it all in, and really watch and see what was going on. So it was really a good experience in that respect. I wouldn't want to be frightened by anything like that, and I wasn't.
Yeah, I can't wait to experience that myself. When I heard that, I was like, this is cool. I can get into this, But it's just one of those things. They actually don't see you, and they have some residuals. You can actually I have had residual voices. Something like a lot of energy, say in an argument that something's happened in the past, and maybe someone shot someone, and there was a lot of energy at that time. And you can even hear screams or things like that happened in the past.
Right.
I mean, it's not so that was pretty cool. I just had to call in and say that was pretty cool. I wish
I appreciate you calling in, and it lets me know that I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Hey,
no, you're not crazy, and you're very lucky, and I'm hoping as my years I keep doing this investigations and stuff. That's one of my things why I keep doing it. To get something that I haven't gotten yet, So
right.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah. Wendy,
thank you very much for calling.
Yeah, Wendy. Before you
thank you.
Wendy, before you hang up, I have a question here for you. Got a little it's allergy season here in Arizona, but I'm curious, these residual sightings or residual viewings, every time you see them, is it like you'd make a copy of a copy? Remember, everyone used to have cassettes, and then as they made a copy of the copy, that copy got worse and worse. I mean, human DNA is like that. As we age, there's a breakup. That's how we age and all that. Or at least I think so. I'm not a doctor. But the residuals, do they get weaker as each year goes by? Is the replication of that residual lose its effectiveness, and eventually will it be lost?
The way I believe it, and the way I have heard, and other investigators and things like that, I believe it gets stronger and stronger.
Huh.
It doesn't fade away. And it's just like I said, it's just a certain time. It's at the same time it happened. At the same time, the same date, exact moment. And I don't believe that it does fade. I believe it gets stronger, and it's just when you do it and you see it, you're lucky. It's just one of those things that you're lucky if you get to see it or experience.
Yeah, wow.
So.
Fascinating. Well, thanks so much for calling in, Wendy, and I've got to get with you on one of these hauntings, and I promise to do that as soon as our dog's well enough so I can get out of the house and do stuff again, okay? Thanks a lot, Wendy, for calling in.
Okay. All right, Dave. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Frank, you're still there, right, Frank?
Oh, yeah, that was very good.
Yeah, very cool. Extremely cool. Okay, so I do have one question. I want to roll over to my topic now, okay?
Good.
Okay, my question to you is, based upon you being a person involved in the NASA programs, correct?
Right.
And you were also involved in a lot of equipment, a lot of technology that was rapidly developing back in that time period because everything was on the quick track. We had a war with Russia, a technology war with Russia to get to the moon, get into space. We lost the initial leg of that because we were not the first to orbit the Earth. Russia was, but then we caught up to them and surpassed them by actually physically landing on the moon. So all this technology was out there. Obviously, technology has evolved beyond that to where we are now at a relatively quick pace. I'm curious, with all these aliens that are out there, and I do believe that there's aliens on other planets and beings on other planets. I don't believe that we are unique to planet Earth with the only life of any intelligence only on this planet. I believe it's all out there. dispersed into space all over the place in the universe. Why can we not get clear pictures of this? And the reasons why I'm saying that is, yesterday I was on the web, and I was looking at Bangkok because I ordered. By the way, who was it here? Someone was mentioning my shirt. I have Autumn. She said she knows I ordered this shirt from eBay. It's coming from Bangkok in Thailand. So I got on Bangkok in Thailand, and I was looking at a Google Earth of Bangkok in Thailand. I was able to get on a street. I didn't know that they had actually street views in Thailand, but they did. And there was a photo, believe it or not, there's a photo radar camera in Thailand, a photo radar camera for speeds. So if we can have a photo radar camera and they can take a good picture of your license plate, if supposedly satellites in space can actually visually zoom in on me and see me, why do we not have, with all of these satellites in space, and there's, by the way, I have a video clip of just how many there are. In space, we have 4,800 and so physical these out there that we've launched into space. Now, not every one of them has a camera. I don't know how many of them do, but why can't we have these cameras in space that when you walk past someone's house, the camera turns on and it starts taking video? Why can't we get clear video pictures of these crafts? Any idea, Frank? You're with NASA.
Well, my initial thought on that is that if they're time traveling and not just physically here as like an airplane that we see in the sky, if they're time traveling, there may be a frequency differential there that just does not let us capture them, because everything in the universe is based on frequency, and that's actually the speed of everything that moves. Even the smallest little atom in your fingernail is moving at a speed, and everything is moving at different speeds. And if they're at a completely different speed, we may not be able to capture them on our film or videos or whatever, because our stuff is so much slower, perhaps. It's just not capturing them. That would be my initial thought on the reason why we just can't get a decent picture. Because obviously, I've seen them, fairly close by. Physically, I can see them, so our eyes can capture them. But I never tried to take a picture of them. I was too much captured by the moment, just like my last conversation with you. I was more interested in watching than trying to capture it on film, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I know, for instance, I had someone on not long ago from MUFON who's talking about this same topic. And she said, it's better to visually catch it with your eye to see it,
right,
because your eyes have your eyes are quicker than the camera. You got to take the camera out of your pocket, the cell phone out of the pocket. You got to put the app to get the cell phone to have the camera. It's funny, I carry around an actual camera with me because the cell phone, you got to click it on. Actually, cell phones are a real pain because you can't even make a phone call quickly anymore.
I know. You got to navigate the menu.
Yeah, you got to navigate to get to the phone. It's a phone, and you got to navigate to get to the phone. It's unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. But
right,
the reason I asked that question is we got like the Hubble telescope out there. The Hubble is taking things back in time, back to the Big Bang and all that stuff, and they're latching into these things with incredible focus, incredible imagery. Yet we still can't get that clear, concise photo of the alien. And let me see, what did I have out here? Let me show you guys this, all right? Just to show you what I mean by this. I go to the dog beach, and here we go. Here's a camera at this place called Manasquan Beach where we take our dog. Check this out here. I've got it showing now on the display here. You guys can all see it. So we see a guy here on a surfboard. Then it zooms into the surf. The guy's surfing in the surf. It zoomed in. The camera, which is a low-quality camera, is zooming in and out. Now we see someone walking on the boardwalk as she approaches the sun. Now I faded it out before she approaches the sun, but you get a clearer image of her. You see the guy in the far background here. He's in the sun. You can almost make it clear. So my point is that these cameras are such inferior products on the boardwalk in Manasquan Beach, yet they focus in, they zoom out, they have clarity. I'll show you something else. Here's the satellite. This is from the space station. In space, here we go with the space station. Look at the clarity. There's a total of 8,378 objects that potentially that are out there, that we put out there. Currently 4,994 of them are in space. There are 4,987 satellites whizzing around. So there's stuff out there that you would think there's so many things out there that there's going to be a latch on to this alien craft, and we're not seeing it. And I want to see it. I want to see pictures, clear pictures.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Again, there may be some photographic evidence of that that we're just not privy to as well.
I was going to get to that. My next question. You were with NASA. Are you aware of any images? Some people have come on the show. I had one guest come on the week before you and said that the Earth is flat. And NASA is projecting a round spinning globe of Earth, where he's saying that the Earth is flat, and NASA is hiding the reality of flat Earth from us. So now we're not going to get into that topic, but did NASA plug into a crystal clear image of a UFO, not a UFO, an alien flying object, and they're hiding it from us? From your perspective as a NASA employee, anything hidden from us?
I'm not aware of anything in that regard, actually, but
Possible?
like I say, I'm open to anything. If somebody wants to show me something, I'm always willing to watch, but I haven't seen any evidence of anything from NASA about that. Again, we might, they might disclose stuff in the near future. I see a lot of activity going on as far as the media is concerned. They're chattering about stuff like that. So
yeah,
something might happen soon. Listen, I hate to duck out,
but you got
but
okay.
Let me duck out temporarily, and maybe get somebody to call in and elaborate further on some details here. And I'm really sorry I have to duck out, but like I said, I had somebody come over, and their needs are my needs as well right now.
Okay, so you are being abducted. You're being abducted at the moment. Okay.
I might jump back in. If I do, I'll give you a heads up.
Yeah, well, no, just call in. That's okay, because if someone else is called in, then you'll just join in the conversation. So if you want to call in later, call back in. And if anyone wants to call right now, 609-467-4000, 609-467-4000. We're going to let Frank go, but I'm going to still talk to you guys. Okay, Frank, so hopefully you'll join back in after you get through your abduction there. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Good night, all.
Good night. See you later, Frank. So we're back here. So what did you guys think about that? So let's see what Kurt says here. Kurt says, is there a satellite out there that NASA has that can zoom in on the moon and other planets such as Google Earth can? So unfortunately, Frank is not there. But what do you think? I think there probably is. And I was going to ask Frank this question, and I missed asking Frank this question because he got abducted. But I was going to ask him, to what degree, when he was involved in the space program, did our U.S. government put a fear factor in these guys to keep them quiet? I wonder how much of that was going on then, because if it was going on then, it sure as heck is going on now, right? The government like to get into the weeds, but then they like to get into the weeds and make sure that no one else gets into those weeds. In fact, I think isn't that the way it is with weed now? They want to put the clamp down on weeds so that we can't get into the weed. It's a similar thing, right? All joking aside. Let's see. Anyone else got anything to say? Anyone else want to call in? 609-467-4000 is the number. Now that Frank is discommunicated the conversation here, let's see if anyone said anything of interest here. Flat Earth whackers, sorry to be negative. And, it's okay, because I don't make judgments, but you guys are free to make any judgments that you want. As a host of the show, even when I did the music show, I never really made judgments on whether I like the music or not. I don't make any judgments of whether I believe the guest or not. I ask questions so that they can either elaborate more and we can understand them more, and you guys can judge them based upon the questions, but I'm not going to judge. I'm going to ask them the question, and I'm going to get an interesting answer from them, which in my head, I will have a judgment, but I won't publicize it here, okay? Azariana has joined. I always pronounce your name wrong. Azariana. I finally got it right. I had to look at it closely. Welcome back to the show. An incredible guest appearance from her when she called in as well. If you want to call in again, please do. 609-467-4000. Let's talk about some other things. Yesterday I had a visual on. This is kind of getting to the fact where, like I said, I believe that there's entities out there. I believe that there's aliens on other planets or life on other planets. We shouldn't call them aliens because they're native to that planet, so they're beings on another planet. We call them aliens because they're not from here, right? So I believe that there are. I want to see more. And the reason I say that is because yesterday I aired a clip of someone that was photographing a cloud. And on top of the cloud, it looked like, and it really did look pretty well defined, as a flying saucer. However, it was only an 11-second video clip. Now, what I like to say is, like, I don't understand why we don't have vivid imagery with all the technology we got in space. Now, granted, a lot of technology that we have in space probably doesn't have cameras on it. I don't know how many of those satellites that we got, the DirecTV ones, the Dish Network ones, I don't know how many of them have cameras in them. But I'm sure out of the 4,998 vehicles that we've got out there that we've launched into space, which are polluting the atmosphere, so that when we launch something, we got to be careful not to smash into these things, right? Or have them smash back into planet Earth and hit a house or hit a person or whatever the play. Hopefully it burns up in the atmosphere. But my question to you guys is when I see these videos, and I saw the one a couple days ago, and I aired it, I think, yesterday. It's 11 seconds of a video. And the guy is focusing, and he's saying that, look at this flying saucer. But it's only 11 seconds, and the cloud was still there. If he stayed on that cloud for 15 minutes, the cloud would have moved, and we would have gotten to see what was behind the cloud, which would have been something that was identified at that point. So it wouldn't have been a UFO, or it would have been the spacecraft we would have seen. But I need to see, I want to see more. If you guys got things closer up that we want to see, then we'll see it. We can actually pass it through. I know someone who will pass through the images and see if they're Photoshopped, because I didn't know that there was a technology out there to take a photograph and visually dissect the photograph and see if it was Photoshopped. There's technology out there to do that. I had no idea that existed, but it can pick up that differential in reality and Photoshop. So if anyone's got one, send it to me, and I will check it out. I want to check stuff like this out. I want to be the guy that actually puts some pictures out there, has them validated, and then we can see what is valid and we could disperse what's not, because I want to start getting some validity finally to these sightings. Let's see. Anyone else got anything to say? Let's see. If we can do this, do you think it would be shared to the public? Oh, that was a question again for Frank. I believe that. Do you guys believe that you can answer these questions either in chat or call to the cell phone here at 609-467-4000? Are you guys also scared to call me? Look, I wear these shirts. You think I'm scared to be out there talking to you guys? Do we think that the government is hiding stuff from us? Do you think that they withhold things from us and don't share them to us? I actually do believe that there's stuff out there that is known, it's not shared with us. Area 51 is still a mystery. I had a guest on talking about Area 51 a couple weeks ago. Rocky came on, and he was talking about Area 51. You can no longer get as close to it as you could 20 years ago. Now you can't be as close to the proximity to see things there. Now there's things there. I don't think we've actually, there's been guests on the Art Bell show, the Art Bell program, who have actually worked in Area 51, allegedly. There's been discussions back and forth on if this individual person, you guys all know who I'm talking about, right? But Area 51 seems to be an experimental site for spacecraft or aircraft that the United States government Army, Navy, military, Air Force uses in defense of this country and to defend other countries because we're out there defending other countries. So they do have a security need to keep that away from potentially the public. Now it all has cell phones and stuff like that, and better cameras with huge zoom lenses that that would get out there on social media. And to stop all of that stuff would be a major undertaking for the government to put a freeze on every single person out there that can visually take pictures of these things. So yes, I believe that Area 51 is locked down for that reason. But do you guys think that Area 51 is locked down based upon alien craft that has landed? And is that how we're building some of our advanced technologies? Like, there was a huge leap in technology when I remember a long time ago I had purchased for a company I used to work for a 5 gig hard drive, which was a huge device. Within not shorter than 3 years, we went down to 1/5 the size for 1/5 the cost. It was like $1,000 for a larger hard drive. So our technology has leaped by huge bounds. How did it do that? How did we get so creative so quickly? I don't understand that. See if anyone else has made any comments here. There has to be more out there. That's what Azariana says. Ron comes here. He says, search for cumulus Pilacis clouds. That's what the topic is there. So we have another caller here. Let's see who's calling in. Hey, this is Dave Darren. Who's joining on the call?
Hello, this is Azariana.
Hey, how are you, Azariana? I was just reading your comment. You said there has to be more out there, so you're calling us now to tell us about what else is out there. Tell us about it. What do you got to talk about tonight?
Well, I saw the 11-second video you put out there.
Oh, you did? Okay, you saw that. So what did you think of that?
I saw that.
Did that leave you with more questions, or did it leave you with a taste in your mouth that here's a guy that should have been photographing for a longer period of time, or what?
Yeah, they should have been photographing for a lot longer, because usually if you see something suspicious, you should, continue until they disappear or whatever the case is, But that's my thinking, at least.
Oh, so. Yeah, absolutely. So I couldn't believe that person put down the camera, because if I was there, I'd have my camera on until the battery got burnt out, or if I had a Samsung phone until the actual physical device exploded in my hand. And he was with another guy, so the two of them had cell phones to take video of that thing. I'm sure they seemed like young enough guys that they probably both had cell phones with the ability to capture video. So I when I see something like that, I think here's a guy that was like teasing us with something that he might have seen, but he really, probably after the 11 seconds was over, maybe he was laughing in the background thinking he's convinced some people with this 11-second clip that was completely inconclusive. So like I said, I want to see some conclusive stuff. So actually, I'm going to ask you, as one of the listeners to the show, one of the people who's called in and been a guest on the show, do you have any recommendations of where we can go? Is there like a website we go to where we can see great clips of visualizations of these things, or anyone else listening to the show have any recommendations of where we can go to see really great video or photographic imagery of close-ups of potential UFOs, leaning towards them being probably aliens in Foundation? Anything at all?
I don't know. I don't know a lot of the websites, or I don't usually go on a lot of the websites unless I see like your show or other shows that have that topic on and have some kind of proof or something like that, or so-called proof.
Yep. Yep. Now,
so I can't help you there.
Right. When you called last time, what did we talk about? I sort of remember, but refresh my memory, since I've had a lot of guests on. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. What did we talk about with you last time? I don't recall exactly.
My abduction, my hybrid kids. That was it.
Yep. Okay. Clearly, I remember now. So in the interim between now, it's been only a short couple weeks since then. Has anything transpired since then? Have you had any communications, any sleeping dreams connecting you to your hybrid children? Any attempted communications at all, or it's been silent at this point for the last time we talked?
No, but I've been dreaming about going back to the planet that I had discussed.
Right, and was
The
that
one with?
Yeah, that was the original place that you went, because I remember first you were brought to a planet at the age of like 5 years old, right? I remember that planet. Now, and
Yeah.
I don't think you mentioned this before. You've been on the craft, and you've had discussions and communications with your hybrid children, of which I remember 2 were male and 2 were female. Now, I don't exactly recall, or maybe you did mention it. You've been to that planet as well?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and what do you do when you get on that planet? Are you like part of sightseeing the planet, understanding the way the aliens live on that planet? How have you interacted with that planet? Because we talked about it last time, but mostly we talked about your hybrid children, so we didn't really dwell on the visitation of that planet. So when you're visiting this alien planet, what's your experiences there?
It kind of reminds me of Earth. So I'm comfortable, and I can hear, because telepathically it's the right word, but they don't speak, but I can. Our thoughts or something. Maybe that's not the right word. I can't express it. But I apologize for that.
That's okay. Now I remember you said that there were 2 suns. Is that correct? I remember that pretty vividly.
Yes.
Okay. Now, were you experiencing oceans, or were there water? Was there water there? Because supposedly life, no matter where it is in the universe, supposedly I think we've decided that water, H2O, is needed for any type of life. I don't know how we came to that conclusion, but supposedly that's the conclusion that's out there. So, did you visualize any waterways, any oceans, lakes, anything like that at all?
Yeah, where I was almost like in a mountain area on top. You know, like when you hike and you're on top of a mountain. I was looking over, and all I could see was this beautiful scenery. And I noticed how everything seemed clearer and cleaner. Like the air wasn't polluted. Everything seemed to be in balance. You know, it was a very calming planet, or calming feeling for me. And I was told, or it was told to me, like I said, telepathically, that they were obviously in the future and had overcome all the war and hatred, and they'd evolved from that. So everything was okay. They didn't have any, you know, on this planet, they didn't have any problems.
Right.
And that they had solved them.
Yeah, were there, you know, I don't know what time of year you were you aware of your time involved there? Like, in other words, did you know that you were there at a specific time? I guess what I'm getting at is on Earth, if we were abducting aliens and bringing them to planet Earth, we might bring them here in different seasons. So did you go there and see different? You said it was very much like Earth. Did you experience any change in the atmosphere? In other words, seasonal things on this planet?
No, I don't. No, I didn't.
You didn't? Okay.
No.
Wow. Oh,
No.
okay.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Now you mentioned you were via telepathy. You were communicating with these beings. Were there a difference in your communications with the male ones versus female? And are there male and female? Now you have hybrid children, which you said were male and female, but they're hybrids of your being, which is an earthly being. So maybe they are more of one sex or the other. The beings that are native to this planet, are they specifically identified as male and female?
The ones on that planet?
Yeah, the native beings on that planet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so they are. When you're talking via telepathy to these beings, is there a different type of communication with the males and the females? Like, are the females on planet Earth supposedly are they're the motherly, they have children, so their emotional patterns are usually quite different than the male pattern. Was there any difference in your communication with them? Did you feel a difference in their emotional format?
The female hybrid was more emotional, let's say.
Okay.
Or compassionate, let's say, whereas the male hybrids were moreover were interested in the way, I was, or my interested in my emotional being as opposed to how they express themselves. It was different.
Right.
But it wasn't rude, or it wasn't, I'll use the term uppity, if someone talks down to you like that, it wasn't like that.
Okay, and you mentioned it that everything was via telepathy, correct? No one actually physically used a vocal cord or a sound element at all to speak to you, correct?
No.
Okay, did you find it? But there were a lot of these beings, and you actually physically saw these beings walking around, correct? Was there a lot of them? Were they clustered in an environment where it was heavily populated, or were they fairly dispersed over this planet, and they were not gathered in large clusters?
Yeah, they were fairly dispersed. Like I said, I compared it, or thought it could be a second Earth. So we're all dispersed all over the place. So that's what I interpreted it as.
Yeah. So I'm getting all these questions in my head as you're talking. See, that's why I like listening to people when they talk rather than writing down questions. The only reason I write down is so I don't forget the question that just popped into my mind. So you mentioned that these beings had all conquered Earth's worst nightmare, which is our ability to create wars with each other and that nightmare of an effect. So I'm curious about this. Since they've conquered that, so their stress and maybe their fear level would be at a lower frequency than ours, because we're afraid of war, we're afraid of each other, we're at war with each other. Social media creates wars with each other. It creates friendships to end. Since they have less of that going on, were each and every one of these beings via telepathy, was anyone closed-minded where they just did not want to open up to you, or were they all kind of equally interested in you and also equally able to open up their minds and talk to you quite freely? Or were any of them...
They had...
Go ahead.
Sorry, finish your question.
No, go ahead. I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. They were open-minded, but I think it's part of their history, so they know that. They know all the bad stuff, and all the stuff on Earth that happens and stuff like that. So I think they're more weary about us, about humans, but for them, they've already overcome it and overcame it, and they know what not to do.
Right.
In order to survive.
Now, you mentioned something, you said weary of us. Sometimes you watch science fiction programs, and the alien races that have evolved to this level of being are weary of earthly beings because they see us as the inferior product that is still struggling with some of the human characteristics that they've eliminated from their way of living. So they've met you. Are they hesitant to get a large amount of humans? In other words, the abductions that we hear about, maybe they're not as frequent. And for instance, if I walk around my neighborhood and start asking people, and if I really get honesty from these folks, I might walk around and talk to 200 people, and I would probably find no one, if they were totally honest, who was ever abducted. So there's a limited amount of abductions, a scarce select few. Is that because these planets, the planet that you visited, are hesitant to integrate with the human species because of our danger element to them, because we're not evolved? Are they scared of us?
I would think that if they had abducted somebody who was closed-minded and thought that they were that humans are the only ones that can achieve whatever they want to achieve, such as war or conquering countries or things like that. And I think that they stay away from them because of that. Because they know that they wouldn't get their message or interact with them.
Right, and the interesting thing is telepathy. It seems to me like telepathy is a more intimate form of contact. It seems like when you connect that pathway of communication, which is a lot more, it's a lot more connected to the energy waves of the brain and the mind than the typical speech is of sound waves. So it seemed like they might be hesitant to abduct or interface, or I think you were. I had someone on who was invited. You were abducted, but someone else was invited to the planet. I remember that because I had two guests on at one point that talked about that. But I wonder if telepathy is I wonder if they would ever start speaking rather than using telepathy, because I would think they might be hesitant to use telepathy all the time on beings that they don't know. Is that possible? Do you think they hesitate a bit, or?
That could be. I also, maybe it's a possibility that if they choose who they're going to abduct or invite, that they can maybe read their thoughts, and maybe they go by that. That's just my thoughts. I don't know if it's.
Okay.
I can't.
Okay, I do have a question here from Mary, and Mary asked an interesting question here. Now, remember, the hybrids that she's going to bring up in this question, these hybrids have never been, or at least the caller that we have on, the guest right now, I believe your hybrid children, your two children that are female, your two children are male, they have never visited planet Earth. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, because the question from Mary here is, she says, I have to ask, why, if there are hybrid humans, of which we're talking about right now, then why has science not been able to prove this with their DNA? So now your hybrid children have not been on Earth, and if they were, they probably would be hesitant. Not everyone wants to have their DNA ripped apart to have that proof right there. So that'd be hard to gather. Although DNA is pretty easy. You find a hairbrush. That's the way they capture criminals, right? You find a hairbrush.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you be? Interesting question for you. Since you've been with your children on that planet, you probably hugged your children. I'm assuming because you're the mother of these hybrid children, you probably hugged them, correct?
Well, I touched them. I didn't hug them.
Okay. Oh,
It was more emotional. Like, I can't explain it.
Well, that's okay. Take your time. There's no rush here. Take your time.
It's like a hug without being touched. It's like that, it's like an overwhelming feeling of love, let's say.
Without the need to be touched.
Yeah.
Huh. So the beings that you were interfacing with in general, that you were talking to via telepathy, I would guess, since you really did not hug your children, the touching of these aliens on this planet that you visited, did you touch any of them at all? Was there a physical contact with them, or just via telepathy, and that was it?
No, it was just telepathy. It was more. It was. You could tell. You could tell with all of them there was some emotion that they knew that who I was and why I was there at the time. But I think that's the human side of them. But being hybrids, they don't. They're more over aliens or hybrids than human. It's not like 50-50.
Right. Okay, so to continue on with Mary's question, because I find her question to have a two-part to it. The second part is, if there is an alien existence introducing, or producing rather, children with humans, there would have to be medical evidence. So now let me ask you this question. So are there, from your perspective, are there hybrids that live amongst us on planet Earth? Your offspring, there are. Okay, so when they die, I'm curious. Maybe you don't know the answer to this, but when everyone dies, there's always an autopsy. Now, I believe if there's hybrids, I believe I might have asked you this question last time. The organs, the heart, the lungs, are they all identical to the typical humans, or are they slightly off because they're hybrids of aliens, and the aliens themselves probably are built differently than we are? Is there a difference?
I think it's different.
It's different.
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting because if a human is unhealthy, for instance, even our dog was unhealthy recently, and she's had an X-ray, and in the X-ray, of course, they found out that it's a dog born on planet Earth. Now, if an alien, a hybrid on planet Earth that is living here amongst us now, if they have a medical condition, how are they healed? Because if they go to a hospital and they submit themselves to X-rays, they might find that variation and that differential in that hybrid to then say, oh my God, in the hospital, we've got our first alien and proof of alien because the organs are different. So do you have any idea how the aliens among us, or the hybrids among us, are actually healed?
Well, when I had that, I'd say that little rock, or I call it a rock, but it was a rock shape or pyramid shape.
Right.
When I had that when I was young, I never got sick. So I never had a broken leg, broken arms. I never had anything broken. I had headaches and colds, but I never had anything serious. It was always a short-term cold, a short-term thing. But I never had any. But I never had anything typically that the kids I went to school with had, or was never had them.
Right. Now, the aliens, I think I asked you this question, the aliens are not immortal. Weren't you the one that said they lived till, and someone said this, that they lived to about 200 or so years, or what was it? Was it you that answered that question with that, or do you, if you
Yeah. Well, I don't know, maybe someone else did, but I think that definitely 200 to 500, maybe 1,000 for all I know.
Okay.
They've been, I was shown on one time when I was there on the ship, they showed me, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but they showed me the history of the world, of Earth.
Right.
From before our time to what that time was when I was there.
Uh-huh.
And it was told that history keeps repeating itself, or humans keep repeating the bad history, and that they have been here. They have been here long before and helped with ancient civilizations. You see these programs on TV, like the Anasazi Indians who disappeared,
right,
or the Mayans, who disappeared, or other civilizations, and they either can't find bodies, or they can find evidence of a civilization, and they wonder why it disappeared. And I think that they you had asked before if they intercede. Maybe they intercede.
Right, absolutely. Well, in your experience, when we talked about the aging, so there is a mortality to these beings, but you're not really sure what the mortality is, 200, 500, potentially even 1,000 years, but there's a mortality to these beings. They do, the aliens that you met on the planet that you visited where you have hybrid offspring, there is a mortality, an end of life. Or an end of that type of life. There may be life beyond. Some people believe that there's reincarnation. Some people believe that there's a heaven and then we go to heaven, so there's no end of life. Our spirit lives on. But the physical body, the human body, does leave, and the human body dies. What happens to the spirit after that is the unclear part that humans may never know. But there is a death of this alien being, 200, 500, or 1,000 years. There is an end that you're making note of, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and when they're go ahead.
It's long after us.
Long after us, right? But you're also saying, because the question that I got here from Mary was the DNA and I mentioned that if there's a sickness, they might have to seek help, and maybe there's an alien hospital. I have no idea, but you said that when you had that pyramid, and that pyramid was the thing that integrated you to that alien world and via all the type stuff we talked about last time, that kept you healthy. So in other words, the aliens that come here and live amongst us that we don't detect as being aliens, but their physical inner structure is potentially different than ours, they do not need medical treatment because they stay completely healthy. So they've eliminated wars on their planet. They've also developed a type of health where they live completely healthy until their being perishes at 500 or 1,000 years, whatever it is. What do you have any idea what happens when they do perish? Do they just vanish, disintegrate? Because otherwise there would be remains of those aliens here that might be picked up and dissected and analyzed, or accidentally given an autopsy and figuring out how different they are. What happens when the end of life occurs? Do they just disintegrate, or do you not know?
I don't really know. My personal belief with that is that we're all energy, so we're just in physical form, and that when we go, we're like light. We're light. We're energy forms. You know?
Yeah. Well, we are on planet Earth, but still our body remains, even if our energy has gone either to a heaven or just a place where our energy consists amongst other energies, which are other lives of planet Earth, of human beings. But our physical body, our bones and our skin, remains until it disintegrates and deteriorates into ashes, but it still remains. So these aliens, they would typically, their bodies would remain here unless somehow they were teleported or taken off the planet somehow to hide their existence on planet Earth as either total aliens or alien hybrids. So their being would still remain here. Their physical form would, unless they're getting rid of it somehow. But you don't know how that occurs, actually.
No, I don't.
Huh. Okay,
no.
Fascinating. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if anyone else has asked any questions. I wish people would call in. I mean, this is not a scary program to call into. Michael.
Yeah, I don't need a hard time because I like to hear other people.
Yeah. And I am getting a lot of questions here of people. I guess I've got to put, next week I will put on the phone number on top of the screen, so when you see my face, you also see, or maybe I should tattoo it on my head. I don't know. But the number to call into is 609-467-4000. I do have Michael Hamilton Berry here. By the way, I played your song, Michael, today. You probably missed it. But Michael asked, how do they reproduce? Now, in the discussion we had here with the hybrid situation, there's a way of reproducing, but there's also the alien and alien reproduction. How does it take place?
I think it's your typical I think it's your typical, human reproduction that they take and put it in maybe a petri dish or something like that. For me, it was. I felt pregnant.
Were the beings in your body? Because Mary asked, were the the hybrids, were they physically inside of your body?
Yes, and then about 2 months or 3 months, I would, take the test, go to the drugstore and take the test and whatever, nothing would come out. I wouldn't be pregnant. The test would show negative. But I felt pregnant, and I felt movement and a heartbeat and whatever else. And I said that can't be, because when you're pregnant, I think the 5th or 6th month, you might feel movement or a heartbeat or something,
Right.
You definitely feel a heartbeat first. And then when I finally said, something's got to be up, and I would say, I'm going to go to the doctor because this is driving me crazy, and I would make the appointment, and then I wouldn't feel it after that, and it would be gone, and I was like, okay, that's really weird,
It is.
And everything went back to normal and things like that, But maybe for hybrids, you need human gestation first, and then they take care of it from there.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, so they need human gestation first. How long was that? Well, typically, obviously, humans are 9 months. How long was this period before that?
Well, this was like almost 3 months.
Okay, so in 3 months, the child's ready to be born. And how is the child born? Obviously, you don't go to a doctor because you've never been you've never been indicated as being pregnant by the human doctors. So now, after 3 months, how has this child been born? Are you then taken from planet Earth to this spaceship or to the world that you said is similar to Earth? And birth is taking place there? And were you conscious for the birth?
No, I don't remember that. I don't know. All I know is that I would feel that way one day and wake up the next day and everything was normal. It wasn't, I didn't feel the same way, and I was like, wow, okay, what happened? I would also, when I had those, quote, let's say pregnancies for that, or when I felt that, I also had time blackouts.
During that 3 months, right?
Yeah. So if it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then when I looked at the clock again, it was like 3:30.
So about 2.5 hours of time lapse there, which you couldn't account for.
Right. And it would be like, okay, and I would question it because I know it was 1 o'clock.
Right.
So what happened between 1 o'clock and the other time?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then you're saying that after the 3 month period, or approximately 3 months, you woke up one day and you felt that the pregnancy was gone. Now, did you feel the pregnancy was gone because you didn't feel the kicking or the characteristics of a baby within your body, or did you feel just some kind of an intuition or some kind of a telepathy with the child that was no longer there? How did you recognize that precise moment when something was different? Was it a physical, or was it an emotional, or a telepathy type of differential?
I would think it was Well, I would think it was both of them, but I think more physical because, you know, I was watching it or I was aware of it, and then all of a sudden, wow, I don't feel that way anymore. You know?
Right, because you're a human, and you had the human connectivity to that baby, so you felt it. So okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. I think Kurt. Let's see. I think is there a question here from Kurt? Like I said, when people don't call in, then I got to put my head on the screen and read it. And if it's not a question, then I'm dumbfounded because I've asked a question is not a question. But let's see what Kurt says. I think Dave's taking notes to report back to his planetary queen. He thinks I'm taking notes to report to my queen about all of us humans telling on them. You know, my queen is my wife, who's in the other room right now, probably thinking when is Dave going to open up that door so I can come in there and take my shower so Dave shuts up for a change. So that is my queen, and you're right. I do have to report back to my queen at various intervals, and there are times when I'm unconscious for an hour and a half. But I know why. I'm hit over the head with that frying pan. So let's see if there's any other questions here. Let me scroll up. Let's see. By the way, anyone here that has trouble periodically listening to the sound of my voice or the guest, for some reason, Facebook drops the audio periodically. I don't know why that is. And I think I might have to move this show off to YouTube at some point, because if Facebook is eliminating the audio periodically, we can't have that, because we're supposed to be having conversations with each other. Let's see. Michael says here, this is kind of a joke thing, but it could be a real thing. Like humans, when we're pregnant with children, you always see, like even in the last episode of The Big Bang Theory, we saw the female who was pregnant. She had a craving for some crazy foods, right? Did you have any Did you have human cravings? You're pregnant with an alien's child. It's half human because you're human and the alien was not human. Did you have cravings, earthly cravings for different foods?
Well, yeah, just like, you know, when I was.
Yeah, because you're pregnant.
Yes, I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, how were you conscious when you were impregnated? Were you impregnated via some kind of an artificial insemination? Were you impregnated by a physical touch by this alien? However, you mentioned earlier the aliens don't want to be touched. You're communicating with them from a distance via telepathy with a lack of touch. How were you impregnated?
I have no clue.
No clue.
It could have been some type of implement. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know, right? Interesting.
I don't know.
Wow. Okay. You know, it was great having you on the show again. I do want to end the show now because we've gone on for an hour and a half. Not that I can't go on longer, but I do have my wife who's trying to abduct me, and so
good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that, right? And the more she's angry, and the more and more she's angry, the more she starts looking like an alien. So let me get out of here, guys. So it was great having you on the show. It was also great having Frank on the show. It was great having all you guys come in here and chat with a variety of your questions. Although, like I do say every single show, I wish you guys would call up. Don't be afraid of me. Look at me. I dressed like a crazy guy. This is an interesting shirt. This has actually aliens on the shirt. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Here's one alien here with a sombrero hat on. See, the aliens do wear sombreros. So
yeah,
there we go.
Very interesting shirt you have.
Yeah, I have an interesting wardrobe. So there we go, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for visiting the show. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Currently, I'll say to you guys, peace out like they do on the alien planet. They're all peaceful there. Let's try to be more peaceful on planet Earth. That's all I got for tonight.
Have a great night.
Hey, you too. Take care. And that's it for right now, guys. I'll do the closing song, which is a different closer now. I got a different closer. Hopefully nothing in this closer will get the show kicked off, because you never know. But here we go. This is the closer of the Dave Darren Show. I'll see you guys on Sunday.
Do you know the Dave Darren Show? He used to be on terrestrial radio, but he got fired.
Here comes the boss fella now.
Dave Darren.